I'm surprised it took them this long. It took DC doing it twice for the MCU to be like, okay, I think we could do that, and it apparently makes money. Do you think we can? Right. All right, let's do that. So Thunderbolts, as I alluded to in the intro, is pretty much MCU's answer to Suicide Squad. This group of MCU super, yes, heroes, Avengers type dropouts come together, they team up to save us from something. I mean, I guess I'll keep it vague like that. It's a something. Because as the movie stated, I think the trailer does too, there are no more Avengers. No one's coming to save them. I remember there being a lot to choose from, but nope, these are the ones we got. And I gotta say, I liked how they all came together. They didn't come together. They end up having to work together. It's amazing who will work with whom when survival is on the line. I like that. I like that they're working together in the name of survival just kind of led to them working together for bigger things. The first act did have conveniences wrapped into it. There's this situation they're in. They have to look for this power source, and I was like, it's not there. What are you talking about? Oh, it is? Okay. I was waiting for them to find that stride, to find that synergy, because they just didn't like each other, and it made a lot of them come across as unlikable, which they are. That's kind of the point here. But they're bitching at each other, they're griping, complaining, to the point of coming across as more incompetent than I felt they're supposed to, because they're not actually that incompetent. But when you do get a lot of strong personalities in the room, it's amazing how the efficiency level can drop because they're not optimized. They're all trying to be the leader. They're all trying to measure each other up. It just comes across as petty. That does happen in the world. It happens here. And yes, Florence Pugh is more or less the star of the show. The movie gives her a lot to do. A big theme in this film is dealing with the pain of your past. And of course, she does have quite a past. And she's a great actor, so she carries it in stride. She knocks it out of the park. I thought Wyatt Russell as John Walker was once again good, but I remember him he ended up being more sympathetic in that Falcon and Winter Soldier show than he comes across here. Here, he's the asshole of the group. Now, Florence Pugh being the star, that's great. That's not to say that's the same as scene stealer. All right. I say this a lot about the guy, but how good is David Harbour? I've said it before, I'll say it again. He's the epitome of the man who understands the assignment and knocks it out of the park. It's possible that he's highlighted because the team actually finds its stride when he and Sebastian Stan enter the fray. Red Guardian brings the levity, Bucky brings the leadership, and that's when the humor of this film works. Listen. This movie is plagued with a lot of what plagues a lot of MCU things. Out of place humor, conflicting tone, you know, the usual. But David Harbour doesn't say funny things, he says things funny. It's just his delivery that's infectious. He's so good as Red Guardian. Poor Ghost, pushed to the background, and it's a real bummer. The character with possibly the coolest superpower, and you end this movie with that feeling of, oh, she's the chick who can walk through walls. Definitely the character that has the least amount to do, and she could be one of the more interesting ones. And I can't wait for the MCU to take a second crack at Taskmaster anyhow. Other than that, the action sequences I thought were pretty fun. One in particular, I felt like, all right, the CGI has suddenly become much more noticeable than it was before in the film, which almost feels redundant for me to say it's an MCU film. So you know that moment is going to come in any MCU movie, which is in and of itself the bummer. And yeah, let's touch more on that conflicting tone and MCU humor. It's in here. Again, another MCU film, another litany of the same old MCU problems. The reason it stands out more in here and kind of bums me out a little more is because it doesn't come across as a movie that's going to lean into that. I was digging that darker espionage feeling tone with these misfits who definitely are not good enough to be Avengers, but are good enough to come together and get the job done. David Harbour coming through with the comic relief, and you have a formula that comes together to work, to not feel out of place. But nah, they gotta have that out of place humor funneled into one character, the villain. Julia Louis-Dreyfus in this movie, if you replace her with Jeff Goldblum from Thor Ragnarok, it wouldn't even feel weird. It feels like her lines were written for Jeff Goldblum from Thor Ragnarok, which worked for Thor Ragnarok. It doesn't really work with a movie with this tone. Another MCU movie with a case of identity crisis, if they just ironed that out and leaned more into the espionage movie meets comic book movie that this movie really lends itself to, that Captain America Winter Soldier had, this movie not only would have hit harder, but would have thrown back to one of the best movies in the MCU, Captain America Winter Soldier. And I felt the end of the movie was absolutely anticlimactic. I mean, it was interesting as a segment, but then when it ended, within 3 to 5 minutes, the credits were rolling. I was like, oh, that was the end. I mean, in concept on paper, it's actually pretty heavy, but I don't think it's given enough to come across as heavy as it is. I don't think Bob was given enough character development. I love when a picture of him was first released. It's like, here's Bob, and people were like, who is Bob? And I'm like, that is Ben Reilly. Because tell me that's not a Tom Holland clone. But in the end, I actually had fun with Thunderbolts. It's an MCU film that's plagued with MCU problems, but it was fun watching this group of misfits work. And David Harbour remains the scene stealer. Always has been. Apparently always will be. I had myself a pretty fun time with Marvel's Suicide Squad. No alcohol required. All right, so Thunderbolts, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.